My wife hired a professional actor to gaslight me during our couples therapy. It sounds like something out of a bad movie, right? Like some convoluted plot twist nobody asked for. But that's the thing. This is my life, and the scriptwriters clearly took a sick day when they wrote mine. Look, I know this is a lot. And if you're listening or reading this, wherever you are, please, if you connect with this story, hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps us keep these stories coming. And if you like what you hear, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and definitely drop a comment below. I read them all, and your thoughts mean the world. It all started, I guess, the way things like this usually do. Not with a bang, but with a slow, insidious creep. A subtle shift in the air, like the pressure dropping before a storm nobody prepared for. Sarah and Guy, we were good. Or at least, I thought we were. We had the house in the suburbs, the dog, a golden retriever named Gus, who was more therapy than we were, the predictable rhythm of Sunday brunches and Tuesday night pizza. We'd been together 8 years, married for 5. 8 years is a long time to build a life, and I'd built mine brick by careful brick around her. Every late night at the office, every skipped Guy's weekend, it was all for us, for our future. I just assumed she felt the same. That we were a team, a solid, unbreakable unit weathering the usual storms of life. The first thing I really remember, was after one of our disagreements. That's what we called them. Arguments felt too harsh, too real. Disagreements were softer, less accusatory. This one was about finances. Nothing dramatic, just the usual ebb and flow of who spent what and where the money was going. I was convinced we were on track, meticulously balancing our budget every month, but she'd been more vague, less forthcoming. When I'd ask, she'd wave it off, say it was handled, say I was worrying too much. That was her go-to. You worry too much, Mark. It used to be cute, endearing. Now it felt like a dismissal, a way to shut down any inquiry I had. So this particular disagreement, it was over a new car. Not that we needed one. Our SUV was perfectly fine, a few dings here and there, but reliable. She'd been talking about a sleek European model, something sleek and impractical that screamed midlife crisis to me, even though we were barely hitting the big 4-0. I'd crunched the numbers, shown her how it would set us back, how it would mean cutting back on other things we'd planned, and she'd gotten that look, the one where her eyes glazed over and her jaw went a little slack. "Mark," she'd said, her voice distant, "I don't remember us having this conversation. I thought we agreed I could get the car." And that's when the first seed of doubt, the first tiny tremor, shook the foundation of what I thought was solid ground. Because I knew we hadn't agreed. I knew we'd had the conversation, and I knew we'd decided against it. My memory was crystal clear. I'd even printed out the spreadsheets. But she looked so earnest, so genuinely confused. She'd even started to cry a little. Those perfect, glistening tears that always managed to disarm me. "Are you sure, Mark?" she'd whispered, her voice trembling. "Because I really thought we were on the same page." I'd back down, of course. I always did. Guilt gnawed at me. Was I being unreasonable? Was I overanalyzing everything? Maybe I'd misremembered. It was a possibility, I told myself. Stress from work, lack of sleep. It happens. I bought her the car. The sleek, impractical, ridiculously expensive car. And I told myself it was okay. A nice gesture, a way to make her happy. The guilt I felt wasn't about the money anymore. It was a new kind of guilt, a low thrum of unease. Things escalated, subtly. She started forgetting things I told her, plans we'd made, important dates. Not just small things, but significant ones. Our anniversary dinner reservation, canceled without her telling me. A friend's wedding she'd promised to attend with me, suddenly too exhausting to go to. Each time her reaction was the same, genuine confusion, a touch of hurt that I would even question her. "Mark, you're imagining things. We never confirmed that reservation." Or, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, I completely spaced. I thought you said you were going with your brother?" It was like living in a fog. My own memory started to feel fuzzy. Was I losing my grip? Was I the one who was wrong? I started keeping a small notebook, just jotting down conversations, agreements. It felt paranoid, but I needed something concrete, something to anchor me when she'd look at me with those wide, innocent eyes and tell me I was mistaken. The notebook became my secret shame, my proof that I wasn't going crazy. Then came the couples therapy. It was her idea, naturally. "Mark, we're not communicating," she'd said, her voice laced with concern. "We're drifting apart. We need to fix this, for us." I agreed. I wanted to fix it too. I wanted my wife back, the one who remembered my favorite coffee order, the one who'd laugh at my terrible jokes, the one who looked at me like I hung the moon. So we found a therapist, Dr. Evelyn Reed. She was supposed to be the best, a real guru of marital harmony. The first few sessions were okay, standard stuff, identifying communication patterns, expressing needs, the usual therapeutic jargon. Sarah was excellent, engaged, articulate, always painting a picture of a loving but struggling wife. I, on the other hand, felt like I was constantly on the defensive. Whenever I'd try to bring up my concerns, my feelings of being unheard or frankly manipulated, Sarah would interject, her voice calm but firm. "Dr. Reed, I don't understand why Mark is saying this. I'm trying so hard to connect with him, and it feels like he's just pushing me away." And Dr.
Reed would nod, her gaze sympathetic towards Sarah. She turned to me, her expression one of gentle inquiry. "Mark, can you help us understand where this feeling is coming from?" Sarah seems very committed to working through this. It was subtle, the way she did it. Not accusatory, but subtly siding with Sarah's narrative. The narrative where I was the problem. The one who was distant, the one who was causing the strain. One session, it got particularly bad. We were talking about a weekend trip she'd canceled at the last minute. I'd been looking forward to it for months, a romantic getaway to the coast. She'd called me an hour before we were supposed to leave, said she had a migraine, that she couldn't possibly go. I was disappointed, but I understood. Migraines are awful. But then, 2 days later, I ran into her friend Lisa at the grocery store. Lisa, who'd been at a birthday party that same night Sarah claimed to be incapacitated with a migraine. Lisa, who'd mentioned seeing Sarah there, laughing, enjoying herself. When I brought it up in therapy, Sarah's reaction was theatrical. Her eyes widened, she clutched her chest, and she looked at me as if I'd just accused her of treason. "Mark, how could you? You know how bad my migraines are. I was in excruciating pain. I wouldn't have been able to go anywhere." She turned to Dr. Reed, tears welling up. "Dr. Reed, I'm starting to feel unsafe. Mark is fabricating things. He's making me out to be a liar when I'm just trying to be honest about my health." Dr. Reed's response was chillingly calm. She turned to me. "Mark, it's important to validate Sarah's experience. If she's telling you she had a migraine and that she was in pain, we need to accept that. Accusing her of lying can be very damaging to the trust in your relationship." She looked directly at me, her eyes like chips of ice. "Are you sure your memory of this conversation with Lisa is accurate? Sometimes in moments of stress, our minds can play tricks on us. We can misinterpret things or even create false memories to fit a narrative we want to believe." My breath hitched. My own therapist was telling me I was delusional, that my memory, my reality, was flawed. The notebook in my pocket felt suddenly heavy, incriminating. I wanted to scream. I wanted to pull it out to shove the entries in their faces. But a cold dread washed over me. If Dr. Reed, the supposed expert, believed her, who would believe me? I felt trapped. The room with its plush chairs and tasteful art suddenly felt like a cage. Sarah sat beside me, her hand resting on my knee, a picture of concerned intimacy. But her eyes, when they flickered towards me, held a glint I didn't recognize, something cold and calculating. That night I couldn't sleep. The accusation, the doubt in Dr. Reed's voice, Sarah's performance, it all replayed in my head. I got up, went to my home office, and pulled out the therapy notes I'd been meticulously keeping.
I flipped through them, my fingers trembling. The dates, the times, the conversations. And then I saw it, a detail I'd almost overlooked. The day Sarah had the migraine and couldn't go to the coast. I'd circled a name in her phone's call log from that afternoon, a name I didn't recognize. And next to it, I'd written, possible actor? It seemed so outlandish, so desperate. But the more I thought about it, the more it clicked. Her perfect performance, the way she'd anticipated my accusations, the unsettling conviction in her voice when she denied things I knew to be true. It wasn't just forgetfulness. It was too polished, too practiced. I spent the rest of the night scrolling through Sarah's social media, looking for anything at all. And then I found it. A blurry photo, posted a few months ago, from a team-building event at her company. In the background, laughing with a group of people, was the man from the birthday party photo I'd seen with Lisa. The same man who'd seemed to play the role of the concerned friend who confirmed Sarah's alibi about the migraine. He had an acting reel linked to his profile. My blood ran cold. The pieces, sharp and jagged, began to fit together. Sarah hadn't just hired an actor. She'd hired an actor to gaslight me, to make me question my sanity. and she'd roped in our couples therapist to help her. The realization hit me like a physical blow. I was being systematically dismantled. My reality, my memories, my trust in myself, all of it was being chipped away. And the woman I loved, the woman I'd promised to spend my life with, was orchestrating it. I stared at the photo, at the smiling, oblivious faces of strangers, and felt a profound, soul-crushing loneliness. I was in this alone, against my wife, against our therapist, against a professional liar. The next session was scheduled for Tuesday. I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew I couldn't go back in there and be the man who doubted himself. I had to find out why, and I had to do it before she convinced me I was losing my mind. The air in our living room felt heavy, thick with the unspoken. Gus, our golden retriever, sensing the tension, nudged his head under my hand, his tail giving a tentative thump against the rug. He was my anchor in this swirling storm of suspicion and doubt, a silent witness to the unraveling of my world. Sarah was across from me, curled on the sofa, flipping through a magazine with an almost deliberate slowness. Her face was serene, a mask of calm that felt more terrifying than any outburst. The image of the actor, his smiling, unblinking gaze from that blurry company party photo, was burned into my mind. He wasn't just a random guy. He was a player, a paid actor, and Dr. Reed, our so-called guide through marital bliss, was either a pawn or a co-conspirator. The thought was almost too much to bear. I gripped my coffee mug, the ceramic warm against my palms.
My mind raced, a frantic hamster on a wheel of what-ifs and why-fors. Why would she do this? What was the end game? Was this about money, control, or something far more insidious, a twisted game designed to break me? Every interaction since that first disagreement about the car replayed in my head, now tinted with a chilling new perspective. Her confusion wasn't genuine. It was a performance. Her tears weren't sorrow, but calculated drops of water to drown my truth. I cleared my throat, the sound unnaturally loud in the quiet room. Sarah glanced up from her magazine, a faint, practiced smile gracing her lips. "Everything okay, honey?" Her voice was smooth, a balm that I now knew masked a deep current of deception. "We need to talk, Sarah," I said, my voice tight, strained. I avoided looking directly at her, focusing instead on Gus's soft fur. She closed the magazine, setting it down on the coffee table with a soft thud. "About what? Are you still worried about her finances? I told you I've got it under control." "No, not about finances," I said, finally meeting her gaze. I searched her eyes for any flicker of the woman I thought I knew, but found only a placid, unreadable surface. "About us. About what's happening." A small frown creased her brow, a subtle shift that could have been interpreted as concern. "What do you mean, Mark? I thought we were doing better. Dr. Reed said we're making progress." Progress. The word tasted like ash in my mouth. Progress towards what? My complete mental breakdown? "Sarah," I began, choosing my words carefully. "I know you've been having issues with your memory lately, forgetting things. But some of those things, I don't think they're really happening." Her eyes narrowed, the placid mask slipping a fraction. "What are you talking about? You think I'm imagining things?" "I think," I said, my voice gaining a little more strength, fueled by a growing anger, "that someone is making you forget things, or making you think you've forgotten things." She laughed, a short, brittle sound. "Mark, that's ridiculous. Who would do that, and why?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out," I said, my gaze locking onto hers. I could feel the adrenaline starting to surge. This was it, the point of no return. "Sarah, I saw a picture, a photo from your company's team building event a few months ago, and there was a man in it. A man who was also at that birthday party Lisa went to, the night you had that terrible migraine." Her breath hitched, a tiny, almost imperceptible sound. But I saw it, a fleeting ripple of something in her eyes. Not panic, not yet, but a tightening, a calculation. "I don't know who you're talking about," she said, her voice cool and even. Too even. "Yes, you do," I pressed on, my voice rising with each word. "He was there, with you, laughing. And you were supposed to be in bed, writhing in pain. He's an actor, Sarah. I looked him up. He has an acting reel online." The blood drained from her face. The practiced calm shattered, replaced by a flicker of something akin to fear, but it was quickly masked by a wave of indignant fury. "An actor? Mark, what are you accusing me of? This is insane. You're making things up. You're twisting reality to fit some paranoid fantasy. Am I? I challenged, leaning forward. Or are you? The car, the anniversary reservation, the weekend trip. These aren't misremembered details, Sarah. These are fabricated scenarios. You're making me question my own sanity. You're making me doubt myself. She stood up abruptly, her movements sharp and agitated. Gus whined softly, sensing the escalation. You're the one who's losing it, Mark. You're so obsessed with control, with being right, that you're creating problems where none exist. You're so insecure, you have to invent conspiracies. Insecure? The word ignited a firestorm within me. I'm insecure because my wife is lying to me, because she's orchestrating this elaborate charade to make me feel crazy. My voice cracked. The raw pain of it all, the betrayal, was overwhelming. Who put you up to this, Sarah? Who are you protecting? Or is this your plan all along, to make me believe I'm losing my mind so you can just walk away, or worse? Tears were streaming down her face now, but they felt different this time. Not the carefully crafted tears of victimhood, but the genuine, hot tears of someone cornered. Mark, you're scaring me, she choked out, her voice trembling. You're not yourself. You're projecting your own issues onto me. My issues? I scoffed, a harsh, bitter sound. My issue is that the woman I married, the woman I built my life with, is capable of something like this. My issue is that I don't know who you are anymore. I stood up, my legs feeling shaky but my resolve hardening. And what about Dr. Reed? Was she in on this too? Was this whole therapy thing just another step in your plan to gaslight me? Her eyes darted away, a flicker of something unreadable crossing her face before she quickly regained her composure. Dr. Reed is a professional. She's trying to help us. You're the one who's being irrational. Irrational? I laughed again, a hollow sound. Or am I finally seeing clearly? You know, Sarah, actors have to be paid, and therapists don't usually work for free. So tell me, how much is this costing us? How much are you spending to break me? She recoiled as if I'd struck her. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? I stepped closer, my voice dropping to a low, dangerous growl. I'm going to find out, Sarah. I swear to God, I'm going to find out everything. And when I do, you're going to wish you'd never met me. I turned and walked out of the living room, leaving her standing there, her face a mask of confusion and something else. Something that looked a lot like triumph. I went straight to my home office, the sanctuary where I usually retreated from the world. Now, it felt like the command center for my own private war. I pulled out my laptop, my fingers flying across the keyboard. The actor's name, I typed it in, searching for anything. Social media profiles, professional websites, news articles. His reel was easy enough to find. A montage of dramatic scenes, comedic bits, commercials. He was good, very good, believable. The kind of actor who could convincingly play a concerned friend or a distant husband. Then I searched for Dr. Reed. Her practice website was polished and professional, filled with testimonials from grateful couples. But digging deeper, searching for any articles, interviews, or even less than glowing reviews, I found something. A small blurb in a local online journal about a relationship seminar she'd co-hosted a few years back. The co-host? A man named David Miller. And David Miller's online acting profile was identical to the man in the photograph. He listed Dr. Evelyn Reed as a professional reference. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just Sarah. Dr. Reed was complicit. She wasn't just facilitating the gaslighting, she was actively participating. The thought was sickening. Our therapist, the person I trusted to help us navigate our problems, was part of the lie. She was validating Sarah's fabricated reality, subtly undermining mine. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through Sarah's bank statements, which I'd accessed through our shared online portal. I was looking for any unusual transactions, any large withdrawals or payments to individuals. It took me nearly an hour, my heart pounding in my chest with every click. And then I found it. 3 separate payments spread over the last 6 months, each for a substantial amount, all routed to a company called Articulate Productions. I Googled Articulate Productions. It was a small, independent acting agency based downtown, specializing in character actors and improvisational performers. I clicked on their roster, and there he was, the actor,
under his professional name, Michael Vance. The payments were clearly for his services, but there was more. Another payment, smaller but still significant, to Reed Consulting. That was Dr. Reed's practice. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening finality. Sarah had hired Michael Vance, the actor, to play a role in her life, to create the disagreements and forgetfulness that would drive a wedge between us. She'd then taken me to Dr. Reed, knowing she could count on her to validate her narrative, to make me doubt myself, and to subtly accuse me of being the problem. Dr. Reed, in turn, was likely receiving a cut for her participation, or perhaps it was a favor owed, a professional alliance built on deception. I sat back in my chair, the glow of the laptop screen illuminating my grim expression. The betrayal was so profound, so complete, it was almost paralyzing. It wasn't just about the money or the lies. It was about the deliberate, calculated destruction of trust.
She hadn't just cheated on me, she had attacked my very perception of reality. She had conspired with others to make me believe I was losing my mind. A wave of nausea washed over me. I needed to see the evidence. I needed proof, undeniable proof, that I wasn't the crazy one. My eyes fell on the small, leather-bound notebook I'd been keeping, tucked away in my desk drawer. It was my proof, my anchor. I pulled it out, my fingers tracing the familiar cover. I flipped through the pages, my scribbled entries a testament to my sanity. Dates, times, conversations, Sarah's evasive answers, Dr. Reed's subtly undermining questions. It was all there. But the notebook wasn't enough. It was my word against theirs. I needed something concrete, something that couldn't be dismissed as misinterpretation or faulty memory. My gaze drifted to Sarah's phone, lying innocently on the kitchen counter through the doorway. She'd left it behind in her rush to storm out. A reckless mistake. A dangerous idea began to form in my mind. A desperate gamble. I could access her phone. I had her passcode. It was our anniversary, a detail she probably thought I'd forget in my supposed delusion. The thought of violating her privacy, of delving into her private world, made my stomach churn. But the thought of what she'd done to me, the calculated destruction of my sanity, was far more abhorrent. With trembling hands, I stood up and walked to the kitchen. I picked up her phone. The screen lit up, revealing her familiar wallpaper. I typed in the passcode. It unlocked. My heart hammered against my ribs. I navigated to her call logs, her text messages, her email. I was looking for any communication with Michael Vance, any mention of Dr. Reed outside of therapy appointments, any confirmation of payments to Articulate Productions. It didn't take long. Her recent text messages were filled with casual banter, grocery lists, plans for the weekend. But then, I scrolled back, and there it was, a thread of messages between Sarah and Michael V. The language was unnervingly familiar, laced with the same casual familiarity she'd used with her friends, but with an underlying torrent of instruction and confirmation. "Did you set up the forgetful wife scenario for Tuesday?" one message read. "Yes, Dr. Reed is prepped. She'll steer him towards questioning his own recall. Just stick to the script. Remember the detail about the migraine lasting the entire day." Another message sent a week prior. "The payment for Articulate went through. Let me know when the next session with Vance is scheduled. We need to keep the momentum going." My breath hitched. It was all there. A digital confession. I scrolled further, my eyes scanning for more. Then I saw it. A calendar entry for the upcoming Tuesday, the day of our next therapy session. Underneath, couples therapy with Dr. Reed, Sarah had added a private note. "Confirm Vance's arrival time for post-session debrief." He needs to be available for the surprise. Surprise? My mind raced. What surprise? Was she planning on revealing some fabricated event? Or was Vance meant to be there, to witness my supposed breakdown? A cold dread seeped into my bones. I felt a chilling premonition that this was only the beginning, that she had more tricks up her sleeve, that whatever this surprise was, it was designed to inflict maximum damage. I closed the messaging app, my hands slick with sweat. I needed to gather more evidence. I needed to record something. The next therapy session. I had to be prepared. I had to have proof, not just of her deceit, but of Dr. Reed's complicity. As I was about to close the phone, a notification popped up, a reminder. "Sarah, don't forget to pick up Gus's grooming appointment confirmation. Michael mentioned the dog's presence could be useful for the scene."
Useful for the scene? My blood ran colder. Gus? They were planning on using Gus in their fabricated scenario? The thought of my loyal, innocent dog being manipulated into their deceitful game filled me with a primal rage. This had gone too far. This wasn't just about me anymore. I quickly took screenshots of the incriminating messages and the calendar entry. I saved them to a secure cloud storage, making sure they were backed up. Then I deleted them from Sarah's phone, wiping the digital trail. It felt wrong, a violation, but necessary. I needed to erase any suspicion that I had uncovered her secrets. I walked back to my office, my mind buzzing with a dangerous clarity. They thought they were breaking me. They thought they were controlling the narrative, but they had underestimated me. They had made mistakes, and now I had their secrets. The next session was on Tuesday. I knew what I had to do. I couldn't just confront them. I had to expose them, and I had to do it in a way that would shatter their carefully constructed reality. I was going in, not as the victim they expected, but as the hunter. The game had changed, and the next move was mine. But as I sat there, the screenshots glowing on my laptop, a chilling question echoed in the silence. What was this surprise they had planned? And how would Gus fit into their twisted plot? The uncertainty of it all gnawed at me, a dark premonition of something truly terrible to come. The weight of it all, the sheer calculated cruelty, settled over me like a shroud. It wasn't just infidelity, it was a war on my mind, a methodical dismantling of my reality, orchestrated by the two women I had trusted most. Sarah, my wife, the one who swore vows of fidelity and shared dreams. Dr. Reed, the professional, the supposed neutral arbiter of our marital discord, who had instead become an architect of my distress. Gus, the thought of Gus, my loyal, unsuspecting companion, being coerced into their theatrical production, twisted my gut. He was the one pure thing in this suffocating fog of deception. Tuesday. The word hung in the air, heavy with anticipation and dread. The therapy session. It wasn't a session to heal anymore. It was a stage, a carefully set trap, and I, the unsuspecting performer, was about to walk onto it, armed with knowledge they never thought I'd possess. The screenshots, downloaded onto a secure, encrypted drive, felt like a heavy, tangible weight in my pocket. They were my shield, my weapon, my undeniable truth in a world that had tried to convince me I was living a lie. The days leading up to Tuesday were a blur of hypervigilance. Every interaction with Sarah was a tightrope walk. I played the part of the confused, slightly desperate husband, the one Dr. Reed had so carefully molded me to be. I asked tentative questions, expressed my lingering doubts about our connection, allowed her to see the cracks they were so keen on widening. It was a performance of my own, a grim mirror of her own deceit. I watched her, dissecting her every word, every glance, searching for the slightest tremor, the faintest sign that she knew I knew. There was nothing. Her calm was unnerving, a testament to her skill, or perhaps her conviction that I was irrevocably broken. I spent hours replaying the texts, the messages with Michael V. The casual tone, the planning, the mention of Dr. Reed's involvement, it was all there, a chilling testament to their conspiracy. The dog's presence could be useful for the scene. What scene? What could Gus possibly do that was useful to their fabricated reality? The uncertainty gnawed at me. Was he to be distressed? To bark at an imaginary threat? To be the backdrop to my supposed mental breakdown? The thought of him being manipulated, of his innocent presence being weaponized, was a fresh wave of nausea. The night before, sleep offered no respite. My dreams were a chaotic swirl of distorted faces, whispered accusations, and the echoing laughter of an unseen audience.
I saw Sarah's serene smile morphing into a predatory grin, Dr. Reed's professional demeanor dissolving into a sneer of contempt. Gus, in my dreams, was trapped in a spotlight, whimpering, looking at me with bewildered eyes. I woke up in a cold sweat, the image seared into my mind. Tuesday morning dawned, gray and foreboding. The drive to Dr. Reed's office was a silent ritual of preparation. I checked my phone, the secure drive still nestled in my pocket. The car hummed beneath me, a familiar soundtrack to my mounting dread. I rehearsed the confrontation in my head, not a shouting match, but a cold surgical dissection of their lies. I needed to stay calm, to let them lead, and then, when they felt most secure, to drop the hammer. We arrived a few minutes early. The waiting room was as sterile and quiet as ever. Sarah sat across from me, flipping through a magazine, her expression placid. Gus, thankfully, was with my neighbor. I had made an excuse, a last-minute change of plans, knowing he wouldn't be an unwitting prop in their play.
I felt a pang of guilt for the lie, but it was dwarfed by the larger, more profound deception I was about to expose. Dr. Reed's door opened, and she appeared, her smile as professional and practiced as ever. "Mark, Sarah, please come in." We followed her into the familiar therapy room. The plush couch, the neutral-toned walls, the box of tissues, it was all designed for comfort, for catharsis. Today, it felt like an interrogation chamber. Sarah settled onto the couch, her posture relaxed, almost defiant. I sat in the armchair opposite them, my gaze steady, unwavering. "So," Dr. Reed began, her voice a soothing balm, "how are we feeling this week? Mark, you seemed quite agitated yesterday. Sarah, you mentioned he was particularly distressed." I met her eyes, a flicker of something, annoyance, crossing her face before she smoothed it over. "I am," I said, my voice even, betraying none of the fury churning within me. Agitated, confused, and I'm beginning to understand why. Sarah shifted on the couch, a subtle movement that I interpreted as unease. Dr. Reed leaned forward slightly. "Understand why, Mark? Could you elaborate?" "Yes," I said, my gaze flickering between them, a subtle shift that I hoped unsettled them. "I think it's time we stopped pretending, don't you?" Dr. Reed's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Pretending? Mark, we're here to work through your issues, to be honest with each other." "Honest?" I let out a short, humorless laugh. "That's rich, Doctor, especially coming from you." And Sarah. I turned my full attention to her. Her carefully constructed composure was starting to fray. The faintest tremor ran through her hand as she reached for a tissue. "Mark, what is this about?" Sarah's voice was tight, laced with a forced calm. "It's about actors, Sarah, and about payments, and about how you've been systematically dismantling my sanity with the help of a paid professional." The air in the room thickened. Dr. Reed's eyes narrowed, her professional mask cracking. "That's a serious accusation, Mark, and quite frankly, it's absurd." "Is it?" I pulled out my phone, my fingers steady despite the tremor of anticipation. I unlocked it and brought up the screenshots, the text messages. I held the phone out, not directly to them, but so they could see the screen. "Did you set up the forgetful wife scenario for Tuesday?" Dr. Reed is prepped. "Confirm Vance's arrival time for post-session debrief. He needs to be available for the surprise." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Sarah's face drained of color. Dr. Reed stared at the screen, her mouth agape, her professional facade completely shattered. "And this," I continued, my voice gaining strength, fueled by the raw power of their exposed deceit. "From your calendar, Sarah, the surprise. What was it going to be? Another fabricated argument? A staged emotional breakdown?" Or perhaps Michael Vance, the actor you hired, was going to conveniently witness my supposed descent into madness. Sarah let out a strangled sob. Dr. Reed finally found her voice, a sharp, defensive hiss. This is taken out of context. Mark, you're misinterpreting things. This is a result of your paranoia." "Paranoia?" I scoffed, the sound laced with cold fury. "My paranoia? Or your elaborate, well-funded conspiracy?" "I checked the payment records, Doctor. Articulate Productions, Vance's agency. And your practice, Reed Consulting. You've been getting paid to gaslight me, to make me doubt my own mind." Dr. Reed recoiled as if I'd struck her.
That's libelous. I am a licensed professional. My reputation... Your reputation is in tatters, doctor, I interrupted, my voice unwavering, along with my trust. You weren't helping us. You were facilitating Sarah's elaborate charade. You were part of the plan to break me. I looked at Sarah. Her face was a mask of terror and something else, a dawning realization that her game was over. The tears streaming down her face now were not of manufactured sorrow, but of genuine fear. Sarah, I said, my voice softening slightly, though the anger still simmered beneath the surface. Why? Why would you do this? Why hire an actor? Why enlist your therapist to create this elaborate fiction? What was the goal? She shook her head, unable to speak, her sobs racking her body. Was it about the money? I pressed on, the thought of their shared financial gain, their collaboration at my expense, igniting a fresh surge of anger. Or was it something else? Was this your way of getting out, of making me the villain so you could walk away clean? Dr. Reed's voice, sharp and urgent, cut through the tension. Mark, this is highly unprofessional. I'm ending this session now. You're clearly not in a stable state of mind. I ignored her. My eyes were fixed on Sarah. You lied about the car. You lied about the anniversary dinner. You lied about the trip. You fabricated memories. You hired someone to impersonate a friend, to nudge me into questioning my own thoughts. And you, doctor, I turned to Dr. Reed, my voice hardening. You validated it. You told me I was overreacting, that I was being insecure. You fed into it. You helped Sarah destroy my sense of reality. Sarah finally found her voice, a raspy whisper. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Didn't mean for it to go this far? I repeated, incredulous. You hired an actor, Sarah. You colluded with Dr. Reed. You orchestrated a campaign to make me question my sanity. What exactly did you mean for it to go? Dr. Reed stood up abruptly. This session is over. I'm asking you to leave, now. I stood up too, my legs feeling surprisingly steady. I walked over to Sarah, who flinched as I approached. I looked down at her, searching for any lingering trace of the woman I had loved, the woman I had married. I saw only the wreckage of her choices.
You know, I said, my voice low, cutting through the room like ice. There's a difference between a mistake and a betrayal. This wasn't a mistake, Sarah. This was a choice. A series of calculated choices. And you know what the worst part is? I paused, letting the weight of my words settle. It's that I still loved you. Even when I suspected, even when I was most afraid, I still loved the idea of you. But the reality is a stranger, a cruel, manipulative stranger. I turned my back on them, on the sterile room, on the shattered remnants of my marriage. I walked towards the door. Dr. Reed made a move to block me. You can't just leave, she said, her voice tight with authority. I stopped and looked back at her, a cold smile spreading across my face. Oh, I can, and I am. But before I go, I have one last thing to say. I've made copies of all the evidence, the messages, the payment records. Your professional association will be hearing from me. And you, Sarah, I met her terrified gaze. You're going to have to live with this, with what you did, with who you became. I opened the door and stepped out into the hallway, leaving them in the silent, suffocating aftermath of their exposed deception. The sunlight outside felt blinding, almost too bright after the dim, artificial light of the therapy room. I walked to my car, my steps steady, deliberate. The drive home was a different kind of silence. It wasn't the heavy, suffocating silence of suspicion, but the vast, echoing silence of finality. When I got home, Gus greeted me at the door, his tail wagging furiously, his entire body a symphony of joyous wiggles. I knelt down and buried my face in his fur, breathing in his comforting, familiar scent. He licked my face, his warm tongue a silent reassurance. He was real, he was pure, he was my anchor in the storm that was still raging within me. I sat on the floor with him, my back against the couch, his head resting on my lap. The emotions were a chaotic tide, anger, a searing, white-hot rage that threatened to consume me, grief, a deep, hollow ache for the love and trust that had been so brutally murdered, confusion, a lingering fog of disbelief that this had been my life for so long.
But beneath it all, a fragile seedling of something new was beginning to sprout, a quiet, unyielding resolve. I wasn't broken. I wasn't crazy. I had been manipulated, gaslighted, betrayed, but I had seen through it. I had found the truth, ugly and devastating as it was. And now I had to rebuild, not just my life, but myself. I had to find a way to reclaim the pieces of my sanity that had been chipped away, to heal the wounds that ran so deep. I looked at Gus, his warm eyes gazing up at me with unwavering devotion. He didn't understand the complexities of human deception, the depths of betrayal. He just understood love. And in that moment, looking into his innocent, trusting eyes, I knew I could find my way back. It wouldn't be easy.
It would be a long, arduous journey, but I would walk it, one step at a time. The world had tried to break me, but it had only made me stronger. I had survived, and that, in itself, was a victory. The last breath I took that day was not one of despair, but of quiet, determined survival.